Hello and good evening and welcome back to Invictus Racing League. For the first time in what feels like a very long time, and the first time on F1 2020, we are back on a Tuesday night. The IRL F2 League, round 1 for season 11. We are here in France, Paul Ricard, and alongside me I'm going to have my very good friend Charlie. Charlie, are you very excited for the start of the season?
Yeah, of course, it's good to be back. We've had a nice long break, making sure the new game's ready to rock and roll, and here we are finally in France, ready to get going.
So obviously we've commentated in F3 together, so there's not too many, if any, F3 drivers on the grid. We have raced against a few of these guys, Charlie, particularly likes of Meg, obviously Lozak moving down from F1 last season onto the grid. We've raced with M. Doran together, Speed Queen, of course. There's a lot of talent on this grid, Charlie, but is there anyone on your mind? We know that Huteri, of course, joining on midway through last season. Who do you reckon is going to be perhaps one who's going to be really quick to get out of the ballpark to start the season off?
I think there's a few that are looking quite strong. I think we've got Monster Blue, who is apparently very quick. Beastas, Meg, we obviously know is quick. He's been here many years, and Speed Queen we know as well is I think a triple world champion. So yeah, there's a few drivers in the hat. And well, it's too hard to call a particular favourite at the moment, but there's definitely a few, yeah.
Absolutely, and of course, the guys are all now in the pit lane, just about to start the first qualifying session of the season, of course, and their new teams as well. And we're just running through the teams for you. And of course, for the F2, the class of season 11 in the Mercedes, we have Soare Samuel alongside Monster Blue. I'm sure that'll be a very strong team, as you say. Monster Blue, in fact, are very kind admin of F2. Reshko, of course, races in F3 this season. Of course, that'll be coming to you on Wednesday night. But he's performed a little grid for myself and Charlie in particular over the pre-season. Of course, extended pre-season due to problems with the game, which is nothing new to us and nothing less than we expect come Code game. But he plays Monster Blue to be overall on average performance. He was the quickest in pre-season. So as Charlie quite rightly pointed out, as we see Mr. Singh going straight on at chicane. So he's clearly in a hurry to get out there and set his first lap. But in the Ferrari, we have Lozak, who's again moving down from F1 last season back into F2, of course the champion in F2 back in season 9 I think it was, so he'd be happy to be back alongside Beastas, who is the second fastest in average from the pre-season races. So again, eyes out on him. In Red Bull, as ever, it seems to be Meg Lugby will be in that Red Bull set alongside Nightshade. So it looks like a good, strong pair. In the McLaren, we have Estimat and Simply Superman. They'll be looking to try and get the papaya car as far up the grid as they can. In a Renault, the Hailstone and Focky Good will be the strong partnership in the French team. Of course, home Grand Prix to start off the season. Racing Point, Evangelist and Roy Boy. In the Alfa Romeo, we have 3-time champion Speed Queen again. Another one dropping down from F1 into F2. I'm sure she'll be near the front once again. And Lopensky alongside her. In the Haas, we have Mr. Steen, as we're currently watching, who's going to be looking like the first man to set a time in the F2 season. And alongside him we have Ferocious Dan in the house. AlphaTauri, that is TGG Mashiro. Again, another new one to F2 last season. I've been told he's very, very quick, so another one we might have to keep an eye out for, without a doubt. And we've got Hutari, so again, potentially a very strong AlphaTauri partnership there. They could be at the front and perhaps early favourites maybe for a Constructors' title. And last but not least, we have Williams and Doran, who was mentioned earlier, myself and Charlie West against in it's a very strong race, a very clean racer, and he lines up alongside Hulkenberger. It's Mr. Steen then, first out on the flying lap. You have to be a little bit careful with traffic. I think he's got a nice bit of clear air ahead of him, as long as the cars in front of him do get on. It looks like it's a very tight and twisty first sector, and of course going on to the Minstrel Straight now at Charlie. But France is a track which is certainly sort of mixed reviews, I think it'd be fair to say. Some people like it a lot. I think to the racing in real life it can be particularly a little bit dull, but what's your feelings on the circuit? You quite like this track?
Yeah, I do quite like it. It's a fairly fast flowing circuit. There's not too many particularly slow corners, but as you say, overtaking can be limited around here, so it can be a little bit boring to watch at times, but on the game you tend to get a fair few overtakes. You've got that DRS zone, and if the field becomes quite spread out, you see more overtakes because people aren't stuck in a DRS train. So yeah, hopefully we get some action here.
Absolutely, of course, 15 turns around France, 2 DRS straights, a 90,000 capacity stadium around the circuit, and just watch Focky good as he's coming around the last 2 corners into now the tight right hand and locks up that front right brakes. I'm sure plenty of people will be doing that into the last corner. Flick open DRS. Mr. Team says a 28.9 is a banker. Everyone out on soft tyres it seems at the moment. As Focky good goes just that 3 tenths per second slower, but goes up into P2 as M Dora now sets the standard pace in the Williams, goes P1 for 28.7, which is immediately beaten by Samuel in the Mercedes. Goes a couple of tenths quick lap. Red Bulls or Altari, who looks like he's just finished his first sector in that middle sector now. Of course, you've got this massive chicane in the middle of the straight, which I think some people do argue the point of maybe getting rid of it to allow overtaking opportunities. But it looks like Hartari is going purple in that middle sector. Of course, you perhaps got to be a little bit, not too sure. There's quite a few bugs that we are aware of in spectator mode, so we'll do our best to try and avoid them and provide the best coverage that we can. Hulkenberger goes up into P3 with 28.8. But in terms of strategy, Charlie, this is a real tyre eater, this because you see Hartari getting all out of shape there on the exit of turns 12. But it's a tyre eater, Charlie, particularly soft tyres. They can overheat so quickly. We can see potentially, we saw a couple of people doing the 2-stop last night. It didn't work too well for them, but it's really going to favour those drivers who are particularly kind to their tyres tonight.
Yeah, Hartari goes fastest with a 128.1, so a few tenths quicker than Samuel. Yeah, it does eat your tyres around here. I was watching the race last night, and obviously you guys who I think you pitted for the hard tyre seem to be able to make it to the end, but not many people favouring that softer tyre because it degraded so quickly. So yeah, I think it's a bit weird to see everyone going for it tonight, as it does drop off dramatically towards the end when you switch to the hards. But I think really in quali it's the tyre to be on, isn't it? Because you can qualify the mediums, but you're going to find yourself out of position. So it really has to be a softer hard around here.
Absolutely. Of course, we're just running on now with Speed Queen, who's on her flying lap. Just come through that first sector, been trying to get herself inside the top couple of rows, I'm sure, in that Alfa Romeo. Drop it down into 4th gear, flick down into 3rd, no, keeps it in 4th to get that better traction, climbs all over the curb to try and get the absolute best traction out of that, and then of course the flats turn 10 all the way to this right. Can be easily to just be a little bit complacent behind there on corner car on the entrance or exit, and of course maybe the best corner on this track, at least in my opinion, the turns 11. Potential overtaking opportunity if you're particularly bold, can try and slide it into the outside because it's quite a late apex. So if you can slide it into the inside, you could potentially get a couple of moves there. And of course now going around the right of 13, flick it left into turn 14, 4th gear, changes it all the way down again, locking on that front right. We'll see a lot of that, I'm sure. Try and get the power down best you can. DRS wide open across to the line. We'll see what Speed Queen goes. So that's going to be a 28, and it is a 28.8.
Yeah, as we've got a few cars coming back into the pits now, but we've got plenty of cars out on track. I think possibly on some in-laps. Everyone's just set their initial banker laps and just looking to come back to the pits. So not a lot going on out there. I think we might have Bisas just starting a lap, which we have. He's just coming to the end of the first sector now.
Yep, just flicking it right. Of course, it's so difficult to get the traction down, but you have to get it planted because if you don't get the traction sorted, you're going to have a very poor top speed, which is going to affect you all the way down the straight and affect your lap time quite drastically. He's got a car in front of him. One of that might even be the Alfa Romeo, potentially, of Speed Queen, as she actually now does pull to the left hand side, so well up the way of the Prix driver. Flicking it rounds 8, 9 on the power, of course, back up the hill into turn 10. I think there's a yellow flag flashing there. I think it might have been the driver just slowing out the way. I think it might have even been Speed Queen. But the Prix driver again, potentially second fastest in pre-season, if that's what the statistics show, as he now flings it round the right hand of turn 11. Try and take the late apex, get back on the power as soon as you can, carry the speed all the way can. Of course, another late apex of turn 12 can be so easy to invalidate on the exit as well, because you're carrying so much more speed through there. It can be hard to nail down the throttle. And then it's a very long corner of turn 14, and it doesn't snatch the right front brake. Looks like it's pretty planted coming out of there as well. It's going to take the shortest distance to the line. The number 19 Ferrari is going to go P1 for 27.7, so 4 tenths of a second fastest. And in fact, the pole position in F1 was a 27.0 last night, but I think 4th or 5th place was a 27.6. So considering that he's done a lap time which could have been good enough for the top 6 in F1 last night, shows that's a really competitive lap time from him.
Yeah, that is a really strong lap, and not looking like anyone's going to get close to that at the moment, but that is certainly a good benchmark. And as you say, some of the F1 boys are struggling to get on that pace, so it's an extremely good lap, and I'm sure people like Monster Blue and Utari and Mashiro behind will be somewhat taken aback by that.
I'm sure there will be, and of course going back to the point of everyone being on the soft tyres, perhaps surprising us in the commentary box at least. And just noticed a message coming through here from one of our admins, Bear Clubby, saying it could be a heavy rain start, or it's expected heavy rain start. So that really will be a real test, and of course it really could be a test of who set the car up for qualifying and who might be setting the car up for the race. Beastas, I would assume with a lap time like that, you would like to think, or at least I'm sure his rivals would be hoping, that he's potentially got a bit more of a qualifying setup on him. And I'm sure the likes of Mashiro and Hatari in the AlphaTauri, maybe hopefully a little bit more downforce for them to try and give themselves the better chance come the race. But Simply Superman, I think, is now on his in lap. Got a few guys looking like they're just about to set their second flying one, so going board. Oh, he's got to find about a half a second to get himself onto provisional pole. He looks like it's found about a 10th and a half in that first sector. Looks pretty tidy. Through the missile chicane of 8 and 9. Of course, they're DOS straights. There are 2 of them down the home straight, and of course coming out of turn 7 down that straight into turns 8 and 9. But no DOS up the hill as he flies up into turn 10 and around turn 11. Of course, you could be probably the tyres overheat so quickly. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to feel you can potentially, if you've been a little bit hard on them in the first half of the lap, you could even feel them begin to just overheat that slightly towards the last few corners of your qualifying lap. It really is so touch and go with your tyre wear and your tyre temperatures around this circuit. But again, very nice, very calm through the last couple of corners there. A couple of short shifts on the exit. Got a Williams in the background as well. Looks like he might be on a flying lap, but Hatari does improve, gets into the 27s as well, so a good lap time for him. It's improved by over 2 tenths, goes P2, but still another 2 tenths to find for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, I was just running board with Hulkenberg, who was on a very nice lap, and he's just popped himself up into P4 on the 28.2, so strong lap from him. He's got himself into the mix, so I'm sure he'll be very happy with that.
McLuppy, another one who I enjoyed, quite a fruitful pre-season, one we're expecting to do well, and in his ever favourite his car to the right hand side to open up the left hander to try and take the apex. It's got quite nice, it can unsettle you that curb, so if you are going to touch it, you do quite literally just want to touch it. You don't want to ride all over it, because that really will unsettle the car, unsettle the rear as he locks up that front right. As the disc plates glowing completely orange on that left hand side of that Red Bull. Perhaps a little bit of time lost there. It looks like it just took that little bit of a wider line, but he's going to cross the line, goes to 28.7, so he's improved by 2 tenths but goes P9. I'm sure he'll be looking to find a little bit more time. Monster Blue looks like he's going a little bit quicker, and indeed he has. He's gone nearly half a second quicker, in fact, so he's gone up into P5. So he has to find about 6 or 7 tenths to get himself into pole position, but he has now pipped his teammate. In fact, just 16 thousandths between the 2 Mercedes teammates in 5th and 6th. So a very strong start to qualifying for those two. Of course, AlphaTauri as a team or constructor certainly looking the best at the moment. We'll have another ride on board with Speed Queen, who looks like she's going even faster in that first sector, currently down into P12. A 28.8 is her current best, and I'm sure she'll be wanting to try and push up into the top 10 as they're now coming up to turns 8 and 9. Of course, trying to get the power as soon as you can to give yourself all the momentum you possibly can up the hill into the last sector. It seems like we're watching quite a lot of lap times actually going through this last sector. Let's go on board with Virgilis, who ironically is coming around the last 2 corners. He's set a lap time of 1 minute 30.0, so I'm sure he'll be wanting to go an awful lot quicker than that, but he's gone to the pit lane. I'm sure. But everyone's set a lap time so far, Charlie. 18 drivers. I haven't got a full grid tonight, sadly. I think we've got missing a couple of drivers. But it looks like it's been a real good benchmark from Beastas, and potentially looking a very strong start.
Yeah, that is a strong benchmark from Beastas, and obviously Hatari's only a couple of seconds behind, a couple of tenths of a second behind. Sorry, Speed Queen's about to come over the line. Where does she go? up into P7. I'm sure she'll want to quickly nip back to the pits and try and improve on that. I thought she would be a little bit higher up, but still not a bad lap time. She might be in a wet setup, we don't know. But yeah, it's looking like a good benchmark from B-Stats, as now we have pretty much everyone either coming back to the pits or in the pits gearing up for that final run.
Yeah, and B-Stats, who looked like he was just about to be on his second final lap, looks like he's invalidated, so I'm sure we'll see him pull off into the pits very, very shortly. Lozak is on an outlap, his teammate, currently set down into 14th place, and had him in the press conference before the race having a couple of questions. And France is not particularly a strong track he's really looking forward to. He knows he could potentially struggle tonight, so I don't think too much expectations on him for this evening, although he does look forward and he does quite enjoy the new tracks of the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort, and he's looking forward to Vietnam as well in Hanoi. So I think he might be the only person I think looking forward to that one, at least in my experience. So but see how he does. Looks like going a little bit slower, just half a temp slower in that first sector. He's going to flick it around and of course onto the straight. Of course, this is where a wet setup really will affect you in terms of your lap time. If you're carrying on that little bit more downforce, potentially a little bit more ride height, you're going to be a lot slower in a straight line. But number 25 Prix flicks it to the left, flicks it to the right, a little bit of a glowing disc brake there as he tries to slow the car back down, gets back on the power as soon as he can as he climbs back up the hill. The only man on a flying lap, so watch him all the way to the end. See how cleanly he does take this last sector. He's going to have to find a little bit of time if he wants to push inside that top 10. Currently sat on a 29.0. Everyone else in front of him is into the 28s or even 27s. So he knows he's going to have to push it. He's going to use all the track on the right hand side to open up the left, just kissing the white line, which is probably the absolute perfect line to take. Of course, hug this right hand side, open up the left hander. Don't want to take too much speed into it because you're going to have to get back across to the left to open up the right hander. Didn't quite get it, but it looks like he's got a nice, decent bit of traction. He's going to flick open DRS, going to come across the line. Is he going to improve into the 28s? He does by about 3/10 of a second, so it goes up into P10. So a good recovery lap there from those. Time on the board for him to fall down.
Yeah, nice lap by Lozak. That'll be him done for the session now. He's not going to get any higher than 10, so couldn't see him drop out as the other guys put their laps in. I'm not sure who we have out first on the lap. It might be Ferocious Dan, but no, he's invalidated whatever he was doing. So we've got Badger starting a lap now.
Yeah, I think the Racing Point driver just flicking it around turn 1 and 2. I mean, it's such an unbelievable corner 1 and 2. It's so hard to spot the turning point. I think particularly I find with the sunlight and reflections of, might be in real life, but on the game, it's very hard to pick your apex into turn 1. But if you can pick that apex, you can fly it over the curve in turn 2 and keep it within the track limitations. Of course, you can find so much time through there if you have the confidence in the car. But we'll see how the Racing Point driver does on this lap. He is currently sat plumb last and the only man into the 30s. He's going to have to find over a second just to gain just a few positions. There's a couple of cars in front of him are well into the low 29s as Monster Blue is retired. I'm not sure if he's lost it. No, he has come into the pit lane, I believe. So he will be P5 and no higher. His teammate is on that lap as well, so he could pip him. So Samuel. So it'll be interesting little bit of a team battle between those two in the Mercedes car. Hulkenberger on a flying lap as well. Bistas has just crossed the line to start his last flying lap. Hutaro and Mashiero in the Alpha Tauris will be desperate to try and get the first pole position of the season. They're on out laps as well. They're 41 seconds to get across that line and to start the last line. But what come the Racing Point driver do is going to flick it down into second. Just a little bit of a wider line, but if you get inside the top 10, it's going to be in the 29s, 9.4, so it finds half a second, but it still pits him past, and he won't have any battery parts left to do another lap. Sure, we'll just try and have a look, see where the top 4, 5 or 6 are in terms of lap times, and I think it might be in now. It goes into the second row, fourth, so a little bit thrown down to Hulkenberger.
Yeah, Hulkenberger currently coming to finish his lap. He's down on his lap time at the moment, so it's not looking like he's going to improve. As he's about to come over the line, where is he going to go? Doubt he's going to improve. No, he's down by 2 tenths, so that's him done. Got Mashiro, Hutari. As Bisas improves his time to 27.5, so that looks like that's put him well clear. We'd assumed that he's running the dry setup then, so unless he is just incredibly fast and that much quicker than the rest of the field, we don't know, but it's looking like he's pretty quick at the moment. Hutari comes over the line, improves by 2 tenths, but can't get ahead of Bisas.
Mashiro also on a lap to come around this last corner, last couple of corners. I think it's only 4 thousandths of a second up. It looks like it's got a little bit of traffic from an Alfa Romeo in front of him as well. I think it might be Lipinski who then comes into the pit. So Mashiro's going to have to find an absolute monster of a last sector. But what a lap from Big. Again, about pit 1. So he'll be starting to leave everyone. And what a lap beat us on pole by 2 tenths of a second. Hutari had a fantastic last lap in him. He but sadly only that was lap. Prix for the AlphaTauri car. Suarez of the Mercedes man also jumping up to P6 and Monster Blue for a couple of. In P8 we will have Speed Queen. She'll be starting in the Alfa Romeo, and of course Enduran in P9 with a 28.6. A little bit of a gap between 8th and 9th. Shades in the Red Bull will be starting P10 ahead of McLovby. So a little bit of a surprise there. Isaac pulled out a good lap at the end to go into P11, and he starts ahead of the very experienced McLovby. But I suppose man of the qualifying session had to be Bistas in that Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely. He was miles ahead of anyone else, really. I know Hutari was only a couple of tenths behind, but yeah, the rest of the field is half a second and more as you go down. So surprising to see Meg be down in 12th. I thought he'd be a bit higher. And Focky was also pretty quick. I thought they'd be high, but maybe they're running setups that are more sort of focused on the race. So let's see as we head into the race. It's going to be an interesting one.
Could well be, and of course Focky Good in the Renault in P13, Mr. Steen in the Haas. A little bit of a twister match there with the runners and Haas's is Hailstone in P15 in the Renault, Versus Dan P16, Lipinski 17th, and Vegelis in the Racing Point will be starting from the back of the grid. But we are expecting heavy rain, so of course there could be many twists and turns yet to come. And of course if you are enjoying what you're watching and you can't wait for any more action, a lot of our leagues is still yet to start. So on Tuesday night, it's running in parallel with the F2 on Xbox that is streamed on Twitch, which you can find at twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League. And of course, there is confirmation of the heavy rain we was expecting. So a little bit of a nail biter for some of these drivers on the grids now. They've got to now try and face these conditions. And I'm sure for a lot of these guys, they haven't had much experience in the rain on this game yet. It does feel a little bit different in the rain. It's not quite the same as F1 2019. The whole handling model of the game is very different, but in the rain in particular, it is a very different approach. But we move back onto the socials. Thursday night is the Realistic Performance League on the PS4. It's of course streamed on YouTube 8 PM, and of course on Sunday Xbox F1 League 9:30 on Twitch, and Monday night F1 League PS4 brought to you by Gareth and Sab, and that is of course on YouTube. On the socials you can find us at Instagram at Invictus Racing League, Twitter at Invictus RL, Facebook you can find all the photo albums, interviews and news. And of course if you haven't already, click that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And of course we are looking forward to going racing here at Paul Ricard, but pouring rain, and I suppose really is now very much a case of can Bisas confirm is raw pace in qualifying into the race, because if he can concur that same sort of pace in the wet weather, we could have a very dominant season on our hands for one driver.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing. Obviously going from the dry to the wet, you're really you'll see who's got the talent to drive quickly in the wet, well, also equally who's got the best setup for the wet as well. So let's see what Bisas can do. Obviously it was a very strong performance in qualifying. You'd expect him to have some sort of pace here, but you just never know. Could throw up many surprises.
Absolutely, of course, a 3.6 mile long circuit, and we are literally 15 seconds away from formation lap all the terms of strategy that will be going through these drivers' minds coming into this race, coming into tonight. Do I do the one stop? Do I go soft hard? Do I do medium hard? Do I do a soft medium two stop? Well, it looks like that's all been thrown out the window. They're going to have to be starting on probably the full heavy wet tyres, or in fact, actually no, it looks like they're all starting on the intermediates in fact. So just wondering, could it potentially dry up at all? Of course, we're coming to that when it comes to it. But we'll just go on to the detail and just confirm everyone else is indeed on the intermediate tyres. So BSAS will get us underway in the pouring rain. Of course, it's not one of the criticisms of France, Charlie, is of course the amount of runoff areas. I'm sure a lot of old school fans like the idea of having gravel traps and grass. Of course, I know it is a lot to do with safety, but particularly in the rain, when it's all like this, it all sort of blends in. It does sort of take away the appeal of an F1 circuit, doesn't it? When it's just such a play on the eyes in terms of colours.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's very stressful to look at when it's dry. This track, your eyes are sort of being drawn all over the place to all the different colours. But yeah, I'd prefer to see some gravel traps around here. I think it's too forgiving, really. You can make a mistake, you can run wide, and you don't really lose anything from it. Yeah, I think it really should. They should incorporate some gravel traps here, but we've got what we've got, and equally the game will punish you if you go outside those white lines. So you do have to stay within and do the best you can.
Absolutely. So I've got a little bit of a gap here between Simply Superman and Monster Blue, so I think Monster Blue might need to just put his foot down a little bit more here. As Beastas is in, certainly he seems to be in a little bit of a hurry to get this Grand Prix started. He wants to get his championship well underway in round one. Paul Ricard and bright red Ferrari in the pouring rain of France, and of course he can be harrowed and chased by the two AlphaTauri cars, and of course Suarez Samuel as well. I'm sure he'll be looking to go very strongly indeed in the rain as well.
So drivers creep up to the grid. Beastas is just trying to keep everyone held back so no one tries dropping back and letting everyone else's tyres cool down, which some cheeky drivers do sometimes. But it's looking like everyone's keeping up, so we're about to come around the last corner and get lined up on the grid.
Yep. And Beastas will of course take into the pole position Hutari and Mashiro behind him. Of course both of these guys are race winners. Both of them have 2 race wins to their name, and Hutari has 4 podiums as well. And but plenty of experience on the grid. Meglabu is saying the most experienced driver on the grid of 144 races. I'm sure he'll be looking to try and pick his way through the grid the best he can from 12th place. Perhaps a little bit unexpected for him to be out qualified by his team. It was expecting to be a little bit further up. He had a very strong pre-season, but what can he do in a race? That's where, of course, it really does truly matter in the race. But we're just waiting for the 5 lights. I can hear the racing cars just bouncing off on the throttle. Looks like it's a very good start for both the front rows. The AlphaTauri just got a little bit of a better start. Looks like the second phase has been much better from the AlphaTauri. I think that's Hutari. He's on in. It looks like it's been a fantastic start from Simply Superman. It's gone completely bonkers at the top left corner. Please forgive me for getting it wrong. It looks like, is that Mashiro going completely wide at the back? But it looks like it might be Hutari leading from Beastas, and of course Simply Superman flying up into P3 from the start. Got a yellow flag already. He's now going to try and move on the Ferrari on the first lap. In the first sector, going to go wheel to wheel through the first sector, and Simply Superman has gone from about 5th on the grid up into P2 in less than half a lap. So a fantastic start from him. Blue has picked up a couple of positions as well, up into P4. Finally, it sorts itself out. Mashiro has dropped down a couple of positions into P5. And Dorman's made up 3 places into P6. A fantastic start from him. And so now, what can we see? Monster Blue looks like it was all over the back of that Ferrari of Beastas. But what a start from Simply Superman.
Yeah, it was unfortunately Flocky Good was caught up in something at the back of the grid, so he's now running around with the damaged front wing, probably hoping for a safety car to recover his race.
Yeah, he's over 6 seconds behind, but now we're seeing Monster Blue and Beastas going wheel to wheel throughout turn 11. Oh, and Beastas has just touched him, and he's going to do very well to keep it. He's just about held it, which is an absolute miracle. But now he's going to be a wheel to wheel. Mashiro. It's been an absolute disaster start for the Pole City. He did incredibly well to hold in the dry, yet alone in the rain. I don't know how he kept that car from doing a full 360. Maybe Sebastian Vettel should maybe take a couple of lessons from him there. But of course, for the pole sitter Hutari's had an excellent start and is looking strong, guns gone, ready for that race win number 3. But you can just see the pouring rain, but the AlphaTauri is looking very, very strong. The Ferrari driver is going backwards as it stands. Mashiro looking to recover from a poor start to try and get back in front of the Ferrari driver. As the number 19 just squirms his way through turns 1 and 2. Mashiro going wide. Lozak's got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings already.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what we were sort of saying in qualifying might be correct about Beastas. He could have been running a dry setup just to get ahead in quali, and now he just seems to be struggling a little bit. So it could be the case that he was running a dry setup. Maybe didn't even notice what the weather was going to do for the race. So it'll be interesting to see if he can claw his way back from that dreadful start.
And running board Lozak, of course, he's got a time penalty already, and fucking good getting apparently a fast lap of 1:01, but looks like it's being overtaken by Nightshades. Nightshades in the Red Bull looking to try and make up a little bit of progress. He's going to have a little look down the inside, but Lozak's not quite phased. Of course, champion of F2, but he's going to get all out of shape on the exits of turns 9 there. Will that give the Red Bull driver a little bit of a chance? Doesn't quite look like it. It looks like Mashiro has dropped back a little bit from the Ferrari. Beastas as a Ferrari looks at again, looking like he's getting out. Of Simply Superman. So these two are having a fantastic start. Hutari's coming into a lot of pressure from these two in the opening rounds, and Simply Superman and Monster Blue in qualifying, perhaps quiet achievers, but in the race, perhaps rain setup, they are looking very comfortable right now.
Yeah, there's a bit of a train forming up behind Mashiro now. He's dropped off the back of Beastas, and he's got Mdora and Sori Samuel, Speed Queen, Lozak and Nightshades queuing up behind him now. So he's going to have to get a move on, so I'm sure these guys won't want to sit in all race. They'll start making some moves as soon as they can.
I was just here, Lopensky and Focky Good having one stop already, so they clearly had damage on in that first lap. And we're just, yes, once again, a predicted strategy, we're looking at a one stop. Of course, I'm assuming that is if it stays dry for the entirety of this Grand Prix. But Monster Blue, what can he do in terms of exit? Of course, it'd be even harder in terms of track limits in this pouring rain. Not just trying to see the track, trying to feel the track as well. Just the slightest bit of oversteer will send you over the white lines. And of course, it'd be a dreaded invalidation. And looks like he might have even got an invalidation there, Monster Blue, the way he hopped over that first curve at turn 8. But how does he get the power down? Because it's like Simply Superman just not quite getting the power down, perhaps as well as he would have liked. It's like Nightshades is going to be right in a battle with Lozak. In fact, they're side by side coming up into turn 11. Who's going to back out of this one? Looks like Nightshades has got the move done coming into it, and he's up into P9. So the Red Bull driver looking fairly comfortable in these conditions. Lozak, after a good start, dropping back, and I'm sure he'll be looking to try and get right onto the tail Speed Queen very quickly.
Yeah, he was. Mashiro is now dropping even further back from the back of Beastas. Beastas looks like he's been able to recover from his poor start and is moving on to the back of the front Prix. So Utari's going to start coming under some pressure from Simply Superman and also Monster Blue. But yeah, everyone seems to be sort of stuck in the train at the moment. Only Nightshade's able to make a move.
Then Dawn gets all out of shape on the exit of the last corner. It's going to cost him a little bit of time. He's almost pushing Mashiro around the last sector. He's looking very, very feisty in these opening few laps of exchanges. The Williams driver up into P6 from about P9. We have a look on ride on board with Simply Superman. It's just 4/10 of a second behind Hutari. And this is a difficult track to overtake on, let's not forget. And that's, of course, with DRS. Of course, no DRS in these conditions, that's certainly for sure. But on lap 4, Simply Superman just trying to drift his McLaren around this first sector. And of course, this is the crucial bit. You can see on his steering wheel there, disabled. That means he's using his overtake button. He's going to go into 8th gear. Hutari's going to go defensive already. He's going to go into the slipstream, still using overtake button, the McLaren driver. But looks like Hutari is also using it, but he's going to try and hang it around the outside. Looks like he's got it done as Meg Luppy's retired from the session. Looks like he's dropped it on the exit of turn 7 there, somehow gone into the wall. Was that contact or was that a mistake? Only he will know. As further back to that, Monster Blue is now going alongside Hutari. Hutari could be in danger of dropping a couple of positions, but a safety car just comes to his aid in the nick of time. And Simply Superman, I'm sure, will be very pleased to know that he got that position done just a few hundred metres before a safety car was announced.
Yeah, Hutari was also saved there from Monster Blue, who was creeping up onto the back of him when that safety car was announced. So it's unfortunate for Meg. We know he does like a crash in the races. He's often can't translate his quality performance over to the race, but yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'm sure he'll be back next race doing his best. But yeah, it's kind of revived Lipensky and Focky Goods races down at the back who had damage early on. They'll be able to pit now and do whatever they want to do and close up to the back of the grid. So yeah, it's kind of sort of reset the race. There's open 4 laps now.
Absolutely, of course. These guys staying out there. So Samuel coming into the pit lane. So too is Vagelis in the racing point. So those guys either having damage or perhaps just taking a chance of putting on a new set of boots will try and help them gain a few more positions. But that's why Samuel was quite comfortably in the points, I believe. So a little bit of a gamble there from him in the Mercedes pit box. And we'll just see now Simply Superman hooking onto the back of that safety car. And of course the rest of the grid will be latching on the back of him as well. So it will be a slow start, and we have no idea in terms of what the weather forecast is looking like. Only time will tell that, of course, for our position in the commentary box. But we'll have a look and see who are the biggest movers in the opening 4 or 5 laps. And of course, Simply Superman going from P6 up into the lead in 4 laps is a quite remarkable achievement from the McLaren driver. He's clearly really enjoying these wet conditions. Hotari is perhaps a little bit of a mixed bag. I'm sure he'll be very pleased with his start, but I'm sure he'll be a little bit frustrated that he couldn't hold on to the lead for just a few more 100 metres, because he knew he'd be leading into this safety car. Monster Blue will be very happy with his start. After perhaps a little bit of a disappointing quali, he's had a rocket ship of an opening few laps up into P3. Of course, he was looking very handy, wasn't he, to take up into P2 before the safety car. BSS, I'm sure, will be very disappointed with his start, and of course the opening couple of laps. Looks like he's found his feet a little bit though, but he's going to have to fend off Mashiro on these opening laps when the safety car does finally come in. Dorn's looked very comfortable in these wet conditions. He's moved up a few positions. Speed Queen kept her head down and has moved up a position as well, kept in the fight. Nightshades has had a solid race so far, moving up a couple of positions, as too has Lodak in the Ferrari. The Hailstone has had a very strong start in the Renault to pit his Renault just inside the points as it stands. Mr. Steen and Ferocious Dan, 2 hash drivers as well, making the most of other people's mistakes, having a very clean and very good opening few laps to get themselves just outside the points and well within the shot. Hulkenberger, I believe, might have got entangled in a first lap collision of some sort, which dropped him quite a few positions because he's down 8 into P13. Suarez Samuel, we know, has come into the box. 2 has Vagelis in the racing point. Focky Good involved in a lap 1 incident, and I think Lopensky had to pit because of damage. He's stone dead last, and at the moment, in fact, we'll look onto him. He's going very slowly at the moment. I'm not even sure if that might even be his ghost car, if he might have left the session or whatever. But lap 6 still on the safety car. Hopefully we'll see the safety car come in on this lap. We'll just have a look on the minimap. Lopensky is going around again, so he hasn't got any damage, but he's got to get his move on if he is going to catch up to the back of this safety car before it does come in. But in terms of movers, Charlie, obviously Simply Superman, Monster Blue, incredible opening laps from him. But what do you expect to see from the likes of Hotari and Bistas, who, despite a good start from Hotari, perhaps looked a little bit on the back foot, compared to Simply Superman and Monster Blue?
Yeah, he did. He got position, and really he should have pushed that advantage home in the wet. Obviously, you know, the drivers behind have the spray; they won't be able to see as well. And really, when you're out front in the wet, I find, for me personally, I feel like I can go a bit quicker than the guys behind because I've got no one in front of me, and I'm the first one getting an idea of how the grip feels like. And yeah, I think he really should have pushed that advantage home, but he didn't. He's left himself open to Simply Superman and the others behind. So he's going to be vulnerable, but let's see if Simply Superman can push on. Obviously with that great start up 5 places, and Monster Blue also behind up 4 places, so yeah, those 2 are clearly very quick, and I'm sure Beastas will be wanting to make up for that bad start.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be. No confirmation, I don't believe, of safety car coming in on this lap, so we'll just have to have a look at that. And Simply Superman, of course, leading the cars out on track as it stands, and safety car will go in for at least one more lap. Of course, it's a 27 lap race here in France, and be interesting to see how the intermediate tyres hold up, because we know how much of a tyre killer this circuit can be, particularly the soft tyres. So be interesting to see. Of course, the strategy was predicted at least one stop for the intermediate tyres. You have to stop about halfway through into the race for a new set of boots if you want to go to the end competitively and as quick as you can. But only time will tell. Of course, we've had a couple of guys into the pits already. Suarez Samuel, I don't believe, had damage, so that could have been a strategy call from him in the Mercedes, but that could be. That is just an estimate. And of course, Hulkenberg as well has dropped a couple of positions, who is just ahead of the Mercedes driver. But still over 20 laps to go, and of course, I'm sure Simply Superman will be very determined to get the safety car back in, because he knows just how competitive he is looking in these wet conditions. And I'm sure Hotaru will be looking, perhaps just gathering his thoughts, perhaps regrouping a little bit. He did everything he needed to do off the line. His second phase of his start was simply immense. I think Beastlas just couldn't quite get the traction down as well as he perhaps thought of. He looked like he got a good initial launch, but the second phase of his start, you could just see the Ferrari just squirming all over the place, and that's when the AlphaTauri took the lead well before turn one. And of course, we then saw the Ferrari drop back a couple further of positions on the opening exchanges. The McLaren driver has got himself up into P1. What can he do to press home this advantage? Of course, it's only round one, but if you're looking for a championship, and of course you're a champion yourself, Charlie, if you are going full guns blazing for the championship, you know round one is not a one-off. It's not a warm-up. It's not one to try and get the rust off your shoulders. It's a race that is just as important as all the others, if not perhaps more important, because it really can set the tone for the entire season.
Yeah, it's you want to start off right, really. It can be a bit demoralising if you start off on a bad result, so I'm sure Meg won't be feeling too good right now about his result. But yeah, you do want to start off strong, and at least if you're not massively quick, just have a clean race. Just get your head down, get going a bit, get some points or something. But yeah, it's I'm not sure what Lipinski's doing. He's just overtaken Focky at the back, so I don't know entirely what's going on there. They're swapping positions. But yeah, like I say, you just want to get points and get off to a good start.
So let's see where Simply Superman does. Where's he going to pin the throttle? He hasn't really got too much choice when you've got two large corners like that. But he's going to go full guns now. It looks like just getting a little bit of a snap there coming up. And looks like it's been a pretty good restart then for the McLaren driver. As you can see, just looking over the rear wing into turn 1 and 2. Looks like it's been Monster Blue looking very feisty. For the McLaren driver, be careful. The time extension penalty, particularly early on into the last 20 odd laps without really in a good position, particularly if the drivers around you, I'm sure, will be picking up penalties left, right and centre, because it is so easily to do. And look at the traction he's getting out. Fantastic. Flat through turn 7, already a second on Houtaru. He's now going to have to look right behind and now go restart.
Yeah, Monster Blue all over the back of Houtaru, and Bisas just dropped back a little bit, and Mashiro's dropped back quite a lot already after one sector on Bisas. So Mashiro really needs to get moving. He doesn't look like he's enjoying these conditions, does he? Speed Queen all over the back of Vendoran as well. So it's very tight in that mid pack there.
And just looking further back, looks like we could be having a little bit of the Ferrari of Lozak looking all over the back of Speed Queen, looking so impatient, and the Red Bull of Nitro-Shades as well. Nightshade, sorry, looking like going a little bit wide, perhaps just off-putted by the movement of a Ferrari who looks so desperate to get past. But Monster Blue is less than 2 seconds behind now. There's potential sign who went for a qualifying setup. The way it's going with Blue and Simply Superman, maybe the AlphaTauris could potentially be on a qualifying setup. The likes of Simply Superman and Monster Blue in the McLaren and Mercedes respectively. But right now Houtaru is holding on to that second position, and we'll look on as not sure why it's to him, but we'll flick back on board with Monster Blue. A little bit of a glitch there, but we'll have a look how he's doing. 6 tenths a second behind. It looks like Hotari has fallen 1.4 seconds behind in just over a lap from McLaren driver. Of course, it was a real indication of just how much confidence you can have in a way, and is how well you do out of traction. So you're just running board with the Mercedes driver. He's not really losing time to Hotari. If anything, he's just a little bit more confident on the throttle around turn 6 and 7, and of course that's where you're losing a lot of time. And in fact, Hotari's lost a couple of attempts there to Simply Superman just through that little section of track, so he's not quite 100% happy with his car at the moment. But we'll look further down the grid, because once again it looks like Lozak's going full mount attack on the Alfa Romeo or speed. These two in F1 last season dropped down the tiers, and they are having a fantastic battle. But what can Lozak do going up the hill using that little bit of overtake button? It looks like Speed Queen herself is using overtake as well, because it just about looks like she's end his attack for now. But it has meant, of course, he's now dropped off the back of Endorn, and Endorn perhaps just finding a little bit of his own space now. He's now drops a second off Mashiro.
Yeah, I was just watching a bit further back. The hailstone at the end of sector 1 had a big snap of oversteer, and he enabled Mr. Steen to have a look on the inside, but managed just to get traction and keep that position. So that was a scary moment for Hailstone. He had like I say, a big snap of oversteer, nearly lost the car.
Lap 9 is or lap 10 I should say. Lap 9 is now complete. Simply Superman is having a 1.4 second lead, but it looks like it's just coming down a little bit. It looks like Hotel is just finding his feet a little bit. It's just sort of fended off the pressure of for just them. But you know, mistakes will lose him a position at least, and Lozak is looking as impatient as ever right behind Speed Queen, and we'll see. I'm sure that's going to be a battle that's going to be going right to the finish, and equally from a 11th place down, we've got a great battle just outside the points. Looking like all cars so close. A little bit of a trade being formed there. We're going to have a little bit of a ride on board with Lozak and Speed Queen, because I've got a sneaky suspicion Lozak's going to try another move on Speed Queen very soon. Oh my goodness, no he won't, because he's completely lost it on the exit of turns 6 and 7. I can assume he's only done that out of traction, perhaps getting too confident. It's a virtual safety car. It's again too impatient and a little bit too confident on the throttle and ride on board when he's already in the barriers, smashed off that front left wheel. And he is out of the race after a very promising start to his season in a Ferrari, moving up a couple of positions, looking on the front foot. I'm sure Speed Queen would be delighted, because you're coming under a lot of pressure for the last few laps. But Lozak, we know he has the pace. We've seen it in F1. He does have the pace, and he deserved to be in F1 last season, but he just can't have these same sort of mistakes.
Yeah, we've like you say, we've seen it before. He definitely does have the pace in the locker. He just makes too many mistakes, and unfortunately has these incidents that often take him out of the races. So if he can cut that out, I'm sure he'd be up there in the championship. But first he's got to sort that out, cut those out, and just stop crashing, because you just need to finish first, don't you, before you can score any points. So yeah, he just needs to stop that.
Now, because he will know it down. He had a very strong package underneath him, and he was looking very confident. But we're on board with the Williams driver Alfa Mashiro of M Dawn. So he was chasing the Alfa Tauri driver of Mashiro, who's dropped 3.4 seconds back now to that little toggle of, including Mashiro's teammate. In fact, Utari looks like he's beginning to just reel in Simply Superman. A gap now coming down to around about a second. It was 1.4 a lap or two ago. So Utari maybe now just finding his feet after a very strong safety car restart from Simply Superman. And again, he's just fending off the pressure. He's just keeping up without DRS worrying him. He can just fend off the half a second gap that he's got to the car behind. That will be enough, but we'll look and ride on board, because it looks like the two Hash drivers are about to go neck to neck into turns 8 and 9, and it's going to be a swap of positions as Ferocious Dan goes down the inside. I think Mr. Steen knows his teammate on lap 11 of round 1. He's going to wave his teammate through, and Ferocious Dan will chase onto the tail and up into P10 and onto the tail of Hailstone in the Renault, who's doing quite a comfortable job, doing a very good start. He didn't have a best of qualifying, but he's certainly had a very strong. This looks like now Hulkenberger's now made a mistake. Where's he dropped it? It looks like he's dropped it as he dropped it on another virtual safety car. Judging by where his car is planted in the barrier on the minimap there, on the exit of turns 10. I can only assume we might have just got on the curb where it'd be incredibly slippery and just slid completely in the barrier. It looks like they're dropping like flies at the moment. There's now a 5-second penalty for Beastas, who's now had a severe collision with Monster Blue, which completely pits him out of the running, potentially, of the race winners. So we see them all driving into the pits.
Yeah, a few into the pits. Obviously, say Beastas is changing his front wing. So, well, it's all going on at the moment. It's a bit hard to keep up with. But these guys obviously getting a bit of a get out of jail card, pitting under the VSC. They're not going to lose so much time to those who don't. In fact, they're going to gain a bit of time on those who don't. So, yeah, maybe simply Superman's missed a trick here, and he should have pitted under that, because he was stretching a little bit of a lead out front. But now it's dropped back to Hutari, and yeah, those guys who pitted are going to have a couple of seconds in hand.
Well, this could be extraordinary, because I'm watching Vagelis here in the racing point, and he's come out on a set of medium tyres, which I can only assume is going to go one way. It's still raining. It is still a very, very wet track. In fact, it's been overtaken immediately by the Haas driver of Mr. Steen. I can only assume he might have set that in the menus at the start of the race, hoping it would dry up, and he's come into the pits for a new set of winters, and he's forgot he's changed it, because he is absolutely driving a canal boat through this first sector. Absolute no grip from those front tyres. I expect we'll be seeing him in very shortly as for P7. Of course, he has made his stop, and the first guy of those who have made their first stops. But it's interesting, as you say, Hutari and Simply Superman staying out, and saw M. Dawn as well picking up a drive-through penalty despite doing so well. He's running about P6, I believe, after starting about 9th or 10th, so he's got a drive-through penalty to serve. In fact, he might even be serving it now, which is crushing for M. Dawn after such a strong start to the race. Hutari's was only about a second away from Simply Superman at the start of the VSC, so I'm not sure if he's had a sloppy lap there on lap 12, or he might have just been a little bit sleepy on the virtual safety car. Of course, seen a couple of drivers speeding under VSC. What is Vagelis going to do? He's still struggling, slithering around the last sector. So he's going to be a very long race for him now. I'm sure he'll be hoping for a safety car to get himself back up into contention. I'm sure that is one thing Simply Superman and Hutari probably won't mind is a supercar, particularly the likes of Hailstone and Speed Queen as well. Supercar would suit them quite nicely right now, I think, because they would probably even out the time they've lost in the virtual safety car by not pitting.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Vagelis is doing. Maybe he's forgotten where the pit lane is, but he's carrying on those mediums. Maybe he knows something that we don't. But Lipinski's just come streaming past him, so not entirely sure what his game is. Yeah, maybe he's on a different track to everyone else, but still got a few guys to pit. Maybe they're going to stretch it to the end. We don't know. These guys up front, they might think that their tyres are feeling fine and not too much wear on them. They might just do a one stop.
Oh, as we see Fucky Goods making a very clumsy move here, and it looks like it turns the chicane of turn 8 and 9, and looks like they might have both got away without damage, but at one point it looks like Beast time this race he did fail to hold it on the opening laps, of course, but looks like he's just about got the move done. Looked very clumsy there into the chicane. Good, because he's got the Williams of M. Dawn right on his tail, of course, fresh from serving his drive-through penalty. I'm sure M. Dawn will be so furious with himself. That race was looking so good and so strong for him. As we see the Hailstone now coming into the pit lane after 12 laps on those intermediates, he's had enough. But was now, oh goodness me, M. Dawn now clips the back of Fucky Good, and he's damaged his front wing. He's going to try and swing it back round into the pit lane. He's going to have a change of front wing. And goes from bad to worse. What an astonishing, shocking few laps for the Williams driver. So unfortunate for him. But Hutari now, once again, showing a little bit of evidence that he has found his feet in these wet conditions, because he looks like he has clawed back time on Simply Superman. It was about 1.8. First time in quite a few laps, or at least since certainly before the virtual safety car. So the AlphaTauri driver perhaps just preserving his intermediate tyres a little bit better than the McLaren driver, but it looks like he's coming back towards him. Yeah,
he is definitely coming back towards him. Maybe Simply Superman's just dropped the pace to try and take those tyres to the end. We don't know. He could make his pit stop next lap. It's around about just over halfway through the race now, aren't we? So could see him in this lap. Maybe he's just trying to go a little bit longer, but it's looking like he's struggling, to be honest. Hutari seems to be getting turned in better and getting a bit better traction out of the corners. And the car is really just going where he wants to go compared to Simply Superman. Speed Queen behind still to pit, and Suarez Samuel obviously had to pit earlier on, is out there on 9 lap hold into, so he could actually go to the end there if he can keep his pace. Suarez Samuel can keep his pace and his tyres in check till the end. He could find himself taking the lead if these guys ahead start to pit.
Yeah, that could have been a masterstroke for Suarez Samuel, because I believe he pitted under the first safety car, which we got around lap 4 or 5, which was unsure if it was forced due to damage or it was a strategic call. Of course, that'd be interesting to know, because that strategic call, as you quite rightly point out, could mean him potentially leading the race after quite a disappointing opening few laps. But right on board with Simply Superman, you can see over the rear wing of that McLaren, there's Badger's picked up a 3-second time penalty. I can assure you that's not the most biggest worry on his mind. He is still on those medium tyres, and I'm not too sure. As you say, Charlie, I mean, I know there's plenty of bugs and glitches on this game, but I don't believe there's one of you being on a dry track and everyone else being in the rain. But unless he's just going for a little bit of a dry, wet, mixed weather testing, I'm not too sure what's going on for him today.
Yeah, just going to touch back on Suarez Samuel. He has got his teammate who is rapidly approaching behind him. I think his teammate, apart from a glitch on Focky's timing, his teammate is actually the fastest man on the track at the moment, and he's just gained about 2 seconds in half a lap on Suarez Samuel. So I wonder whether they'll be on the radio to each other and organising a swap of position here, because I think it's the sensible thing to do, seeing as Monster Blue is gaining so quickly on Samuel.
Yeah, the gap has come down, as you quite rightly point out, by a couple of seconds. It looked like quite a comfortable buffer Suarez Samuel had, and looks like Speed Queen as well, but potentially just struggling on those old intermediates as well. Hotari still all over the back of Simply Superman, but it's like the Team Mercedes aren't doing the old switcheroo just yet, as they're going to come around this last few corners now into the right of 13. Looks like Monster Blue is going to have to get this done normally on track, because Suarez Samuel doesn't look like he's showing any intention of letting his teammate go. I'm sure he probably realises he could be potentially fighting for the lead. It should Simply Superman and Hutari pit, but look at the difference in traction. Looks like, and Monster Blue goes straight around his teammate, uses the overtake button with great effect, and takes over 4th position and takes over the lead in terms of the Mercedes team battle there, as Hutari is still 0.8 of a second behind the race leader. And we're right on board Suarez Samuel. How much is he doing in terms of his tyres? His tyres should still be in much better condition than those of the front 3, but now it's going to be a real quest of how much time can Monster Blue gain on the front 3, because even if because you'd think, Charlie, if they're doing 15, surely A, they're expecting it to dry out very, very soon, or B, it is going.
Well, as you say that, I'm pretty sure the rain has stopped. I can't see any rain coming down on my screen. And Monster Blue is gaining time hand over fist on the leader at the moment. He's just done about a second in, I don't know, 3-4 corners. So obviously the guys out front, their tyres are hurting. But it does look to me as if the rain stopped. So maybe that's what the 2, and well, actually the 3 out front are gambled on. And they're going to hope that the track dries out pretty quickly and then just pit for dry tyres. There's both of them coming to the pits now at the front. Let's see what they put on.
So Flagellis, as it turns out, was the future guinea pig. Be interesting to see how much his times potentially, as Flagellis picks up another 3-second time penalty. But the top 3 are all pitting. Monster Blue has come into the pit as well. In fact, they're all pitting. So this must be the turnover point. Has that been as masterstroke, not just from Hutari and Simply Superman, because of course these 2 were 1st and 2nd anyway, but potentially for Speed Queen, because she's going to go from running about 8th position, I believe, before everyone pitted under the virtual safety car for fresh inters. She could be finding herself in for a podium position, so it really could be a masterstroke, as Vadges picks up another 3-second time penalty. He's picked up 2 there in the same lap. As Suarez Samuel also coming to the pits. He's the only one to go on to the soft tyres at the moment. Versus Dan is also into the pits. He's going for a set of medium tyres. Looks like everyone is coming into the pits, but quite crucially here on his outlap, looks like Simply Superman has picked up a 3-second time penalty. I don't believe Hutari does have a 3-second time penalty. So now with the gap 1.4 seconds, the pendulum has now swung to Hutawi, who now knows if he can keep within 3 seconds of the McLaren driver, the race victory will be his tonight.
Yeah, definitely, and also Speed Queen putting herself in a very good position by pulling off that strategy. That is why she's a triple champion here at Invictus. She really knows what she's doing and has a very calm head, so she's got herself into a very handy position. Now she just needs to stay ahead of Monster Blue, and I'm sure she can find herself on the podium.
Well, I'm looking forward to this battle between Beastas and Soy Samuel, because these two come out just nose and tail coming out of the pit lane as they come down the Minstrel Straight, coming into turns 8 and 9. And Soy Samuel's put on those soft tyres, which I'm sure will burn out very, very quickly. I'm sure on lower fuel in the race, brand new set of soft tyres, you probably could well do 10 laps, but it could be a sitting duck on those last few laps, because the medium tyres are fairly good around here. They are a very competitive race tyre, which is why the entire field, in fact bar 2, have gone for those medium tyres. So but Swire Samuel knows if he wants to get into 6th position, which is realistically the only position he can really move for, whether other than stick to 7th or move down. This has just gone a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 12, might even pick up a warning as well for that. But looks like he's already maybe just losing a little bit, or just getting that little bit too high temperature in his front tyres, because that last sector was very dismal for the Mercedes driver. But we'll have DRS, so the DRS will be enabled very soon, but he's going to have to make this move stick very, very, very quickly, as Hutawi is now in the DRS range of Simply Superman.
Yeah, he's going to be all over him, and I'm sure those soft tyres for a couple of laps, as you say, will be very good while the track's still green and a bit slippery. But it's incredible how quickly this track's dried out, actually. It's,
yeah.
Didn't take any time at all. Not sure what that is all about, but yeah, maybe they've got very good drainage here. But yeah, it's dried out pretty quickly, and the track's going to be green, so the soft tyre, he's got to make it count, but it's looking like Beastas is actually pulling away from him.
Well, yeah, it was only a few laps ago where he was completely laughing and saying, what the hell is Vagelis doing on the medium tyres? In reality, it was only really 2 or 3 laps early for those medium tyres in hindsight. So, I mean, his race is still pretty much beyond repair, 14 seconds back in 14th place. But it was that guinea pig for the medium tyres, and when to make that switch over to the dry tyres. But Hutawi, I'm sure if he's onto the phone, if he's wise, and won races here in F2, he's won a couple, and he's going for that third, and I'm sure he'll be using his engineer to great effect, and he'll be asking him lap over laps, particularly on a circuit like this where track extensions are so popular. See the McLaren driver just having to get off the throttle on turn 2 there, hadn't quite got his line all that well, and he's just compromised his exit so much there coming into this first sector, and Hutawi is almost pushing him around those last couple of corners. He's got to be careful not to pick up any more penalties, but I'm sure Hutawi will be well aware of his 3-second time penalty. Once again, Simply Superman, I'm not sure if he's using an overtake button, but he's absolutely flying in the rain and in the dry out of turns 6 and 7, but Hutawi's going to have his DRS wide open. Does Simply Superman go defensive? Going to leave the door wide open. It's going to be a late move from the AlphaTauri driver. He's going to leave the space, Simply Superman, so it's good clean racing, but the AlphaTauri is going to be right in the back, 3/10 of a second behind. He's going to have the slipstream, he's going to have the overtake button, there is no DRS, and he's going to go flying past the McLaren driver up into the lead as he flies around turn 11.
Yeah, it didn't look like well, I know Hutawi was using a lot of his overtake there, but it didn't look like Simply Superman had any answer for him there, and it's just breezed past him. So Hutawi obviously looking very comfortable in these dry conditions, and let's see if Simply Superman can come back at him. I'm sure he'll be desperately wanting to in that cockpit.
Yep, he knows his best chance now is to try and stick in the DRS of this AlphaTauri driver. So it just hooks up that apex really nicely, but the traction of Hutawi coming out that last corner is fabulous. I'm sure he's using a little bit of overtake as well for good measure to just try and keep that buffer to him. As we look further down the grid, looks like Lopensky and Focky Good are having a little bit of ding-dong. The chicane on the Minstrel Straight, as Lopensky looks like he's absolutely shot off from Focky, and they're a couple of 14 seconds away. Next car ahead, but looks like it's been a good return from the Haas team. As looks like a 4-point finish here, so this could be a good turnaround, but we'll go back on board with the leaders at the front. There could be a reverse position here, because it looks like Hutawi this time good defensive from Simply Superman. Hutawi clearly using a lot of his overtake button. I don't think Simply Superman using any. He's just sticking in that slipstream. Will he do and try and pull the same move Hutawi did on him just a lap or two ago? Simply Superman not using his overtake button, so it looks like he's just biding his time, or perhaps just admitting defeat. He knows Atari has got him on track and on penalty. He's going to play it safe, bring home a P2.
Yeah, like you say, he could be just accepting that he's not got the pace to overtake Atari and pull away by 3 seconds. But you never know, he could make a dash for it at the end. He could be just saving his ERS for that. He could make an overtake and just try and run away at the end with a load of battery. But let's see. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. Speed Queen will be wanting these two ahead to battle. No, she probably knows that the car ahead has got a penalty, so Speed Queen will be desperately sort of urging these guys on to battle because it'll only help her catch up.
Absolutely, of course. Just 7 laps to go now as Simply Superman gets so close into turn 1, but it'd be so brave to try and move into there. It's such a fast chicane. It's really rewarding and a really good feeling when you hammer those 2 curves. Absolutely perfect, because it's so easy to get a track extension around there and to pick up countless penalties if you're not careful. But Simply Superman is coming back at AlphaTauri driver here. So he's going to fling it around this first sector. He's been very good on tractions out turn 6 and 7. How is he going to be on this lap? He's half a second behind, so he's going to have a little bit of the old use of overtake button if he is going to get past. It looks like he's not, because he's not really gaining on the AlphaTauri driver coming into 8 and 9. Going to be very late on the bus. Going to flick it to the left, and of course going to try and get the absolute widest line. He's going to lose it. Just about catches his car, but it looked like he's on for a destination course right into the barriers then.
Yeah, he's just had to squeeze a load of his overtake now to make up for that big mistake. Got a bit greedy over the curbs on the exit and just slammed the throttle down, and that was nearly good night from him. So yeah, he had to use some of his batteries, so he just wasted all that, and now Atari's harvested quite a lot. Monster Blue is gaining on Speed Queen quite quickly behind, as it just picks up a penalty.
Yeah, and that's going to pay to a lot of good work there, and could put him up. I'm not sure if Mashiro's got a time penalty himself, but it would potentially put him under threat from the AlphaTauri driver. And talk about those soft tyres with Sorry Samuel, I think they might have already begun to overheat, because he's now 4.7 seconds and falling back from Bisas, and potentially could be falling into the very grateful hands of Nightshades, who's had a very strong Grand Prix here. I think he started P10, I believe, in that Red Bull, and he's just had a very calm, composed drive to pick his way quite comfortably into the points, and I believe he's kept it quite clean on penalties, so it could be on for a little further reward here of a 7th place if Swire Samuel does continue to struggle on those soft tyres, which we suspect, particularly in those last 2 or 3 laps. So we might have to keep an eye on that battle, but we'll have a look, of course, with our front 2 as always, as this are also the closest battle on track, and Hutari looks like he's just a bit of a masterclass here in terms of defending. Not sure if Simply Superman is just biding his time, biding his overtake, or as we said, perhaps just settled for P2. But Hutari, despite not having DRS, is being very strategic with his deployment of overtaking. He's just keeping that McLaren driver comfortably away. He's not having to deviate from the racing line. He's not having to take compromised entrance and then compromise his exit speeds. He's taking a very nice, calm, assured racing line. He's not letting the McLaren in his mirrors dictate the way he's driving. He's driving very, very calmly. He's driving like a man who's only 5 laps away from winning his 3rd race here at Invictus, as we now cross over the line onto lap 23, and Speed Queen is just about hanging on into P3. 2.9 seconds further back is Monster Blue. We know Monster Blue does have a penalty, at least one penalty I should say, but could again have another battle there. Nightshades is taking time quite comfortably out of the Mercedes driver Osore Samuel in the battle for P7 and P8. It's Simply Superman so late on the brakes in turn 5. We know he's good on the exit of turn 6, and he's really sticking with the AlphaTauri. A little bit of a twitch there maybe as well, but if he is going to get past, if he wants to take P1 on track, this will without a doubt be his best choice. He looks like he's not deployed enough overtake to get close enough to the AlphaTauri driver through the first DRS, and once again almost going right up the rear of the AlphaTauri driver. But what's his exit speed like again? Looks like Hutari is just using his deployment perfectly here.
Yeah, he's getting a bit greedy in that chicane, Simply Superman. He keeps squeezing the throttle on mid-corner, and it's completely ruining his exit, and he's having to deploy a load of battery to try and make up for it. I'm not entirely sure what he's trying to gain from that. He needs to just be calm through the corner, line up a good exit, and then just get on the power as early as possible. But have the car lined up so you can do that. Don't squeeze it on while you're turning. It's just completely ruining his run out of the corner, and Qatari's just comfortable in front of him at the moment.
Yeah, and Bisas now just 8/10 of a second away from Mashiro, which means like it's been quite an ongoing battle between these two for a lot of the race. But I'm sure Mashiro would be disappointed they couldn't convert that third place on the grid to more. Of course, I think he had a little bit of a tangle, didn't he, into turn one, which cost him a whole heap of positions. He went massively wide as picks up another 3-second time penalty. He's not had a great night, and he's in danger actually being excluded from the race results should you pick up 15 seconds worth of time penalties. Not including spinning in the pit lane and so on. As we're actually going to run the ball quickly with Bistas. He's getting so close to the back of Mashiro, but it looks like it won't be bothering him for just the moment. We're trying to ride on board back with our race leaders. As why are we now back with Hotaru? There we are. And once again, Superman, let's just drop further back a little bit on this lap, so it looks like Hotaru will be safe for at least another lap. We'll go right back on board with the Ferrari of Bisas, who's going to be very determined to get past this AlphaTauri once and for all. He's running out of laps to do it. He's using overtake to the full example, to its fullest, as Mashiro leaves the door open, and the Ferrari driver takes it very, very gratefully. As now the AlphaTauri driver is going to try and come back at the Ferrari. He's using his overtake button up the hill. He's got plenty of slipstreams that come around into the flat turn 11. Is he going to try and force a move? It'll be a very good one. He's going to go to the outside line of defence from the Ferrari driver. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. But Bisas is just about. As the AlphaTauri driver can back underneath him and just snatches the car before he tries to go full 360 on him. Well held in the end, but nice little battle here.
Yeah, a few drivers getting a bit greedy on the throttle on curbs, and it just doesn't work. As we see in real life with Sebastian Vettel and Silverstone, you don't want to accelerate on a curb because they just spin the rear wheels up and the car will go from underneath you. And there's unfortunately nothing you can do about it sometimes, but Mashiro managed to catch it just then.
And this battle of Nightshades and Soe Samuel, one which we've been predicting and expecting for the last couple of laps, this is finally about to take place with just over 3 laps to go now. As Nightshades is continuing his good race form as he's locking turns. We're just right back with them very quickly, but we're going to ride on board with the almost gesturistic attempt of Simply Superman on Hotaru. Is going to come back up the hill again, but once again Hotaru is just getting the perfect exit. You know, you get to the point where it looks like Hotaru knows exactly what he's doing with his overtake, with his fuel, with his exits, with his line every single lap. He looks like a man who knows completely how to drive and keep Simply Superman right behind him.
Yeah, he's very calm up front, isn't he? He's not particularly phased by Simply Superman.
Oh, so it looks like Nightshades has completely lost his braking point coming into 8 and 9. He's just absolutely rammed in the back of Soe Samuel. The Mercedes driver cautiously returns back to the circuit. I don't think he's got any damage on that front wing. I know Nightshades most certainly has. I'm probably sure he just caught out by the early braking point of the Mercedes of Soe Samuel, who of course ruins soft tyres, I would have thought at this point. And the Nightshade just rams into the back of him, just completely too eager on the brakes, and he's just smashed his front wing up as well. You can see the front left end plate of that Red Bull is now completely damaged, and it really does open the door quite nicely for the Haas driver of Ferocious Dan. But Soe Samuel, he's almost struggling. He's struggling so much to get it around turn 14, the left hand, and of course this one, the right hander won't be too much better as well. The gap to Ferocious Dan is just 2 seconds. He's got 2 laps to limp home as Nightshades, who's in P7, so he's got the position he wants as Mashiro picks up 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost him in his battle for P5 of Bistas. But now Ferocious Dan, I'm not sure if he has damage the Red Bull driver, but he's now going to have to absolutely fly, and he could pick up another position here.
Yeah, Ferocious Dan already having a very strong race, up 8 places, in 8th position there from 16th obviously, and now he's potentially going to pick up another place if he can get on the back of Nightshades, which I'm sure he will be able to, because Nightshades will be hurting massively through that final sector once we get to that, and be losing a lot of time. So Ferocious Dan is going to have a last lap dash to try and get past that Red Bull. But unfortunately for Soe Samuel, he took a gamble going onto a soft stint, and it just didn't pay off. They went off, he came under attack, and unfortunately that incident happened, and he's lost a couple of places. So all really stemmed from that gamble onto softs, isn't it? And it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, it was a gamble to try and go forward, but it very quickly didn't turn out to be that, and very quickly turned into a gamble that meant that he was going only one way, and that was sadly backwards. But we've got to certainly praise him for trying. His ferocious Dan is now already on the back of Nightshade. Nightshade is really struggling for downforce on that front left, and ferocious Dan looking very impatient to get this move done, and it's very easily moved up into P7. A fantastic race, as you quite rightly point out, from the Hash driver coming from well outside the points into P7. He's driven magnificently in his changeable conditions. Nightshades will be a little bit disappointed that he couldn't hold on to that P7. He's looking quite comfortable. He's got a 7.5 second gap, so he's looking pretty nice for the position of 8th at least. But Monster Blue has, out of the blue, completely caught up to Speed Queen. I think he has got a penalty, so I don't think Speed Queen will completely fight it. But in the DRS zone, does move up into P3 on track at least. Speed Queen leaves the door open, perhaps knows of the penalties of surrounding the Mercedes driver, not willing to fight it, not willing to risk contact on that one. We'll have to ride on board very shortly with our race leader Hutari as well, as looks like all the battles are just about finishing up on track. We're going right on board with the AlphaTauri driver. He's driven a spectacular race. It went so well, didn't it, from the start? He absolutely got an absolute bullet lightning start. Took the lead. It didn't go all his own way. He had to fend off a very feisty Simply Superman and Monster Blue. But as soon as the clouds cleared, his day went from very bright, and he has now won the French Grand Prix. He wins round one, a strong start to his championship campaign. Well done to Hutari. Simply Superman has a fantastic race, coming from about P7 up into P2. Monster Blue is just going to cross the line of P3. Does he hold on to it? I don't think he will, as Speed Queen does through it's just gamble, which paid off beautifully. Holds on to that podium position. Beastas in P5, from pole down to 5th. Mashiro will be P6. So those two have not had great race days compared to their qualifying results. Let's have got a yellow flag. Is that Fucky, who's potentially had a moment, or might even be the Hailstone, I think, who's been dropped down into P2. Ferocious Dan, a fantastic race from him. Well done, the Hash driver, up into P7. Nightshades, I'm sure I'd be so disappointed with contact with Suarez Samuel, but well done to me. In fact, it actually gets P7 on penalties. So Ferocious Dan clear got quite a few penalties. Suarez Samuel looks like he's going to be pipped to the line, crossed the line at the same time. Suarez Samuel is P10. Mr. Steen is P9. Suarez Samuel looks like he had an extra penalty there. Lopensi's going to cross the line P11 with a 5-second unserved. The Hailstone's going to cross the line. He regains P11 from the Alfa Romeo driver, and looks like I think M. Doran might have actually got back past Rocky Good on the last lap there. Shame for the Williams driver, who's doing so well. And now just relying on Vagilis as on my screen. Focky Good has now just crossed the line to go P1. I can assure you that is just a glitch. But Terry is, of course, the rightful winner as the racing point. Vagilis does cross the line to round out in 15th place. So round out round one. And Charlie, we've got mixed ball conditions. Driver of the day, I don't think, sadly, I think that is just a glitch. Sorry, Fucky, I don't think he was quite driver of the day. If I was to ask you for a driver of the day, Charlie, who would you be looking at?
I don't know. I'm torn between Hutari and Speed Queen, actually, because Hutari did start, I think, in P2. He started quite high up anyway, and yeah, he did control the race, but Speed Queen played an absolute blinder on the strategy to move herself up from P8 onto the podium. So I'm kind of torn between those. I think I'm not sure. I'm torn, really. I think I'll have to give it to Speed Queen because she was not looking that strong in quali, and she really just kept it clean in the race and moved up a fair few positions. But also well done to Hutari on that controller drive. It was a really impressive performance, but slightly more expected after what we saw in quali.
Absolutely. So Hutari is your race winner from P2. Took the lead into turn one. It wasn't all that straightforward though. He had to fight for it back, the lead. Of course, he lost it during the wet conditions. He struggled in the rain, but he did a very good and composed job. Simply Superman from P6 up into P2. Simply Superman, incredible strategic blinder. Up into the podium for the 3-time champion. Monster Blue up into P4. Beastas was P5. Mashiro was P6. Nightshades got P7 on penalties. Ferocious Dan was P8. Mr. Steen was P9, and Suarez Samuel did pick up a last point, but I'm sure will be very disappointed after starting P4 And a bit of a mixed bag there for Mercedes drivers. I'm sure they'd be very pleased with the raw pace they showed, but it just didn't seem to work out for either of them. That's a real shame for them. But massive congratulations to the podium. There will sadly be no race interviews tonight. Of course, I'm very sad to say round one we couldn't do live for the F2. This is just a recording that will be uploaded to YouTube for all the drivers, and of course anyone who wants to see it will be posted. I'm very sad about that. I'm very sorry about that. I think that is a PSN problem there, which is of course very frustrating to have it on round one. Of course, when you've been looking forward to something for so long. But well done to all drivers for getting a fantastic race. Of course, as we were saying coming into this, France isn't always the most popular circuit, doesn't always give the best racing. But in the rain and in the dry, it has to be said. But I think particularly in the dry, we've got some fantastic action there towards the end, and some great battles, and some great driving as well from a lot of drivers. And of course, if you are looking forward to round two and you want even more, of course, we are every single Tuesday 8 PM live on YouTube for round two at Austria. But of course, Wednesday night we have F3 and F4 running together, PS4 on YouTube. And that is streamed at 8 PM as well. Thursday night, that is Realistic Performance League, PS4. 8 PM, Malcolm Tim bring you that one. And of course on Sunday it's the first of the round two at Austria. That is the Xbox F1 League, and Monday night F1 League PS4, and of course Tuesday is your F2 Xbox, same time as us. That's on Twitch, and you can find Twitch at twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League, socials at Invictus Racing League, Twitter at Invictus IRL, Facebook you can find us as well, photo albums, interviews and news. And of course if you haven't subscribed, please do it already. And of course if you enjoyed, give us a thumbs up, as that really helps us get out to a wider community in the F1 community, and of course in the league racing as well. And of course if you're looking forward to more and you want to get yourself on the grid, you can go to the Invictus website, and that's where you can sign up and put up an application. And I'm sure we'll be looking forward to hopefully streaming live for round two. And of course thank you to Charlie for joining me in the commentary box tonight. But looking forward to round two in Austria, and I hope you have a very good evening, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon next week. Goodbye.